Good morning and welcome to this edition of Taking Stock. Depeche Mode wrote these words in a song called Personal Jesus. Reach out and touch faith, your own personal Jesus. Someone to hear your prayers, someone who cares. Your own personal Jesus. Someone to hear your prayers, someone who's there. Reach out and touch faith, your own personal Jesus. There are two versions of that song in the comments underneath this video. One is a link to Depeche Mode singing that live on the Letterman talk show in the United States, and the other is a Johnny Cash cover. Depeche Mode wrote that song about how Priscilla Presley and Elvis Presley's relationship was not entirely perfect, that she looked up to him so much, and her approval from him was all that drove her. The song is written as a kind of recognition that that way of living isn't healthy. And as a Christian, I want to say, no, it's not healthy. One of the things I hear often is that people say, oh, I worship the ground he walks on, she walks on, which sounds dangerously idolatrous. We're not meant to invest in human beings what we owe God. Back in 1989, when this came out, I thought it sounded a bit blasphemous, and today I know that it doesn't. They've hit the nail on the head. And the mid-50s me has noticed something I missed in 1989. And that's this idea that your own personal Jesus has kind of infected much of our Christian culture. You could be forgiven for thinking the Christian faith is all about personal salvation and personal faith. I often hear people say, we want you to talk about personal faith and not about involvement in anything else. Come and be born again. Come to our Alpha course and find personal faith, personal salvation, your own personal Jesus. Someone to hear your prayers, someone who cares. Your own personal Jesus will make you feel better about life and ease your loneliness. As though our own little lives are all that Jesus is interested in. But the Christian message is about more than our own personal salvation. Indeed, once you accept Jesus as Lord, you have to change all sorts of things about your life. You can no longer be a Jesus person if you ignore the pain and the horror all around you. You can't ignore the man bleeding on the side of the road and just walk the other way. You can't ignore the fact that some people don't have enough money to buy even the basics of life, while others live in opulence. You can't look at the problems of society and say, oh, God will sort it out. Well, God wants you to sort it out. Your own personal Jesus, your own personal salvation is nowhere near enough. Our faith has to drive us out of our little bubbles of security to be involved in the work of God. I was looking for a short video to share under here so that you could hear this wonderful song, and I came across a Johnny Cash cover. I'm a huge Johnny Cash fan, and everything he did musically in my mind was close to perfection. So I listened, and of course it was crazily good. Someone commented under the Johnny Cash video saying, human beings are the only creatures on earth that claim a God, and the only creatures that behave like there isn't one. Wow. Your own personal Jesus, your own personal faith, your own salvation, and that alone leads you to that place. No wonder we're so bad at convincing the world that Jesus is Lord, because we act in so many ways like we only care about ourselves and our own salvation, and not the planet or anybody else. Your own personal Jesus. No, nowhere near enough. God demands that my faith and yours is bigger than that. God demands that we become a solution to the horrors we see around us. So don't just settle for the status quo, because the status quo is very far from what God wants. Your own personal salvation, and indeed the personal salvation of any individual, isn't enough. Jesus came proclaiming a kingdom, a change of everything. I don't just want a personal Jesus. I want much more. My prayer is that you do too. God bless you.